What's going on, Ambitious Vet? Welcome to episode number 75 of the Ambitious Vet Show with CEO of OSD, Glenn Banton Sr. Welcome to the Ambitious Vet Podcast, where we believe that if you desire more than you have in any area of life, you have to become more in the process. My name is Chris Hoffman, Marine Corps combat veteran turned social entrepreneur, family man, and personal and professional development leader. On this show, I dive into the trenches with big thinking and conscious veterans who know what it takes not only to pay the bills after the military, but really live with a sense of purpose, satisfaction, and career fulfillment we all desire most after financial stability is no longer a challenge to overcome. So, Ambitious Vet, if you're listening to this and you haven't grabbed your pen and paper, it's time to do so and to gain the golden grenades needed to break through your fear barriers and living a more purpose-driven life with passion. Let's go get it. Have you realized that having financial stability after your service is not actually as hard as you thought? Have you finally begun to understand who you are and what you're capable of in the civilian marketplace? How about you finally take steps forward to initiate the next challenge in your life to become what you think about at night? If you are ready, I want you to participate in a research study that will have us, as far as the Ambitious Vet Network, understand you more and bring a deep quality network of veterans together to solve bigger problems than just financial stability. Are you interested in participating? This is how it works. Click the survey button in the show notes. Be sure to include your email address, answer the questions honestly, and you will be placed in a raffle for a $100 Amazon gift card. The winner will be announced on February 24th episode release. Our goal is to have 100 veterans just like you who's listening to this. Let us know what you want after financial stability is no longer a challenge to overcome. The deadline to participate is February 23rd by midnight. I look forward to seeing your survey results personally. Welcome to another Ambitious Vet Show, Ambitious Vet, where I'm really just committed that you get the golden grenades needed to accelerate where you're at to where you want to go inside career fulfillment, life satisfaction, and don't forget sense of purpose. And I got to tell you, this interview with Glenn Banton Sr., of CEO of OSD and mentor of Bunker Labs. He's a board member of Psych Armor and multiple other organizations that are super committed to diving deep with veterans and moving important things forward. I got to tell you, this interview was amazing. And anytime I get a chance to sit down with somebody that can understand the big picture, the trends that are actually, are what influences a marketplace, I love the conversation. So I hope you love this conversation as much as I do. Glenn Banton Sr. considers himself a master storyteller. You'll see that at work inside this interview. He's a growth strategist. He's a veteran mentor and advocate and a privateer. And he leverages massive and very simplistic, actually, philosophies like the OODA loop and other things that you'll see him bring up inside this interview. But be really listening for a few key golden grenades. One is what has us as veterans, once we've been out of the uniform for about 3+ years, what stops us tactically in getting the opportunity that we really desire to be getting? Two is the difference between vanity metrics and actually making an impact. A lot of people in the marketplace in this new connected age want to pretend like they're more than what they are because they think the higher status is going to move themselves forward until they get that opportunity. And then whoever gave them that opportunity realizes that there's no substance. So really listen for that. Three is really the vision of where OSD is going. I love Glenn Banton Sr.'s vision of where he sees OSD going as far as creating a veteran support ecosystem, which really is going to start focusing on social connectivity, professional development, and community service. And such that, really right now they've partnered up with Xbox and Microsoft to raise $250,000 where they're going to match dollar by dollar that donation from you as a listener or whoever you share this episode with, so they can start impacting, more veterans and their families with what they're doing. So without further ado, Ambitious Vet, I'm excited to go ahead and dive into the trenches with Glenn Banton Sr. What's going on, Ambitious Vet? We're back into the trenches today with the one and only Glenn Banton Sr., the man behind the impact of OSD. And he also wears a lot of hats on top of that, including being a full-time caregiver of his wife. But I'll go ahead and let him tell you all the hats that he actually wears. Glenn, welcome to the Ambitious Vet Show.
Hey, I am happy to be here, and the literal hat I'm wearing is a Black Rifle coffee hat right now. So we can, before we get into the figurative ones, but no, thanks for having me. Super stoked to speak with you and the community.
Yeah, it's an honor. I mean, you guys at OSD have now impacted over 1 million veteran, active duty, and even family members since 2010. And now you guys are actually partnered up with Black Rifle Coffee, right?
Oh yeah, no, we've got a number of them, and again, we've covered a lot of ground, and I think that's it's important. We talk about the million served. I think that's kind of a vanity metric. What does it actually mean once you break it down? And even when we talk about your hats, I'm on Psych Armor's advisory board, which does a lot of training and readiness in the veteran space. The Veteran Business Affairs with Small Business Administration, all these different areas, and really what it comes down to is a lot of what you you talk about. It's, how do we get individuals together having conversations where we can get to know one another, understand, needs, wants, and desires, and help get to the next thing. And that's really what OSD's been doing for a long time. It's just, kind of drilling down and looking at the individual as much as we can.
Yeah, that's awesome. You guys have been doing a damn good job, by the way. And you've kind of already answered this, but what would you say Glenn Banton is most passionate about right now, or what's next? What's steaming up right now in your world that you're excited about?
Yeah, it kind of comes down to, it really latched onto this message around, the personal accountability, personal responsibility, situational awareness, all these things that I believe are not particularly unique, especially, over the course of human history. But I think we lose sight of the importance of, just matter of fact with human behavior and, how humans develop relationships. And while we have these awesome mediums that can produce positives like, podcasts and access to more content, too often they're substituted for actual relationships, or where they're truly a filter. So we never really get to know anybody. And, I kind of sum it up where that comes from, especially in the veteran space, is, none of us want to lose another brother or another sister to suicide. And that's the big thing. Suicide, mental health, wellness, that's the problem. So let's talk about the symptoms. Well, one of the symptoms is we don't actually get together and share experiences in a physical place with one another. And I don't want to see, another person in the community be lost to suicide and see another Facebook post that says, hey, if anybody is feeling down, you can always call me. Sorry, screw that. You need to go find those few people in your life that are important to you and reach out, or you need to figure out how to, reach out and develop that type of community. Because when we're talking about, bettering ourselves and getting further along, it really comes down to understanding trust, building trust, and then also, giving it out as well.
Yeah, definitely agree. And I love how deep and philosophical your brain is. Ambitious Vet, if you're listening to this, Glenn Banton is not a veteran. However, he has been able to bring a lot of dot connecting, relationship building, and connecting the dots between some of the top veteran-owned businesses and personal and business brands inside of our community. So if you guys do not know who this man is, you definitely got to get connected to him. But however, he's not a veteran, and he's made one of probably the biggest impacts inside of our community as far as connecting dots. So if he's able to share the stage with some of the biggest brands, the Military Infantry Conference, partner up with the Black Rifle Coffee Company, he's good enough to be on this show. So Glenn, you dove into a lot of stuff right there. I definitely agree that, trust building is very important inside the veteran community. Communication, learning how to build trust and stuff like that, and get out of that microwave way of thinking. Because one thing that we found since we started this movement since 2017 on Facebook, right? And kind of morphed into other things, is that, ambitious vets, the first thing they're trying to solve is stability, man. They just trying to get financial stability, and they get in that survival mode, and they almost fall victim to, trying to pay the bills, indecision, shiny object syndrome, and just how do I get there? Right. So you being the CEO of OSD, I mean, you've impacted a lot of veterans' lives, but, what has been some of the landmines that you see veterans deal with as they're building a personal or business brand when they get out of the uniform, and how can they get ahead of that?
Yeah, I think a lot of it actually has to do, and this is one of the few areas where I say yes, you're right. Veterans are a victim to something. Now, the fact that we can point that out means we need to get over it in the community and move on, and that's just misinformation. Not willingly, not purposefully, but a lot of what you are taught as you start to get in that transition process on the way out, like calling it dated is wrong. I mean, I don't even know how dated it would be. I mean, it's like pre-monster.com situation. Everything is so heavily dependent on resume, translation of skills, all these things that don't even make sense, whether we're in the information economy, the attention economy, or whatever we decide to call it tomorrow. That doesn't make sense. The majority of jobs are not available on job boards. The majority of jobs are through meeting other people, developing relationships, and you presenting yourself as a solution to a problem. But one of those big landmines I find, and this is whether I'm talking to, officers that are retiring after 25 years or former enlisted after, 3, 6, 8, whatever it happens to be, is you get so set on the tactical side of how do I crank out more resumes and fail to realize you could actually go walk into a Starbucks or a coffee shop, understand how to read people's open body language, sit down and listen, and you're more likely to get a job. Let's get real about it. And those are things that's not unique to veterans. That's just take advantage of the reality right now. Nobody builds relationships, but as humans, we crave them. And if you have the ability to sit down and listen, you can see these opportunities pop up. And it's not about translation of, I manage $10 billion of equipment and all this stuff. It's, I manage people. I work in, a diverse and adverse environment, and I know how to communicate. Communication is key in 2020, period. And so if you can figure out how to communicate with others, understand their challenges, you'll get ahead, and other people will benefit for it as well.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how it's not all about just like trying to sell yourself. Sometimes it's just about getting connected to the other person in front of you, figuring out what they want, what their commitments are, and figuring out how you can provide a solution to that is kind of what I'm hearing there. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, you're spot on. And it kind of add that and oversimplify it in some cases is, it's simple supply and demand. This isn't a go to college and economics thing. Supply and demand is all about perspective and perception. And so if you're sitting down and talking with one person and immediately trying to sell yourself, you just put yourself in a box and you didn't even realize it. And they already put a value on that box. But if you listen, why is Nike shoes cost more than, whatever the heck's at Payless? It's the box, it's the branding, it's the perception. So, and it's not about overselling or, making yourself more fancy. It's how do you present yourself to whomever's in front of you. And I think one of the challenges I've seen, and thankfully it seems to be getting better just kind of at scale in the veteran space, is, well, that classifies as this fake it till you make it thing. Like that, who cares? Number one, like knock it off. Again, fake it till you make it at its core is just a fundamental reality of striving to be better than where you are right now. And you're not actually faking anything. It's the other phrase is act as if, act as if you're the president of something, act as if you're the leader of something. And it puts you in that right mindset, because if you did the opposite of that, you'd always be behind, because you would always be not quite at the point where you need to be. And so just those very basic realities, and I always point this a lot out when I'm speaking to the civilian side in corporations and talking about veteran hiring, is what I'm saying here, it makes sense for any audience. This is not a unique to veterans reality. I just think veterans actually are set up to take better advantage of this reality due to your background and the motivation to move forward, especially as you've seen, years and years and years of folks, seemingly struggling. And, here in 2020, you're going, heck, man, we've been doing this thing in this generation for 15 plus years. I'm getting sick and tired of the 3 to 5 year transition. Let's do something about it. And to me, that's what's exciting. And there's, I think there's a lot of people motivated to help veterans with that type of mentality as well.
Yeah. Excuse me. I love that you are starting to focus more on self-awareness, more of the internal issues of veterans, and raising kind of like, I don't want to get too woo-woo because this is a veteran podcast.
Yeah.
However, it is kind of like raising the consciousness, right? And I've been able to see OSD grow from just delivering gaming systems, to combat environments and stuff like that, to now evolving into even professional development, connecting with social connectivity and stuff like that. And, speaking of trends, why has that morph happened? Because I know when I was in the Marine Corps, I loved Call of Duty. I was in there playing, chasing zombies when I was in Afghanistan. But I find that kind of numbs the core issues.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you guys are morphing into more self-awareness, professional development, and stuff like that. And what did you guys see that had you guys expand into those arenas?
Yeah. So a lot of it was, and even when I got, when I was asked to come on and join the organization, and I wouldn't say take it to where it is today, because even somewhere today is, I don't know if I'd say surprising. It might if I rewind all the way back. But, you can always see a little bit past the edge of your fingertips when your arms put out. But we knew there was more to it. I didn't look at OSD from this is just sending video games to troops. I saw it as this generationally relevant morale booster. I'm someone, and it's always one of those funny things I'll talk about. I'm somebody that plays tons of video games, but I'd never call myself a gamer. I have no problem with a gamer. I have no problem with people playing video games. What I do have a problem with, though, is utilizing anything as a substitute for your responsibilities. And a lot of people, that goes on both sides. That's gaming, that's CrossFit, and it's everything in between. And what ends up happening, I think it's somewhat of a byproduct of just, culture right now, with kind of how we've micro sliced everything, including every little subcomponent of the veteran community. Everything is offensive. And I think that's ridiculous. So what we end up doing with OSD is we kind of said, well, the supply drop program, which was the original one, it allowed us to develop a brand relationship in a unique way that nobody else was doing. And it was because there was a unique part of sending video games. It's better than socks and baby wipes and Girl Scout cookies, depending upon, how hungry you are. But the reality is we were bringing people together. And then what ends up even happening, we've seen over almost 10 years we've been doing that. 3-4 years ago, again, by the way, this program still exists and is supporting literally hundreds of thousands of troops a year. But we started seeing in situations where we'd send an Xbox naturally to a single unit or battalion, it was community property. It was there. It was for all of them to use. It was for the TV in the common room, the day room, whatever. And then we started seeing the pictures we get back, and it's, some, E4 that took the screen and the monitor, and he's got a selfie of him sitting in his bunk. And I'm going, that's messed up. And again, I'm not 100% sure on an individual case, like he did something wrong. He's just taking it, he's doing what you kind of expect in a chuckle way. But that went completely against the whole point, which is we saw gaming as a way to bring people together. So fast forward real quick, because I want to get to the point of the question you're asking, which is, about 2013, 2014, the men and women were serving with that program ended up, we're seeing a lot of them redeploy, come back home, need different things. And they're reaching out to us saying, hey, we want to get involved. We need other support. None of it has anything to do with a Call of Duty or Madden League. And I'm looking around from a market awareness standpoint going, that's crazy. There's like 40,000 veteran organizations. A lot of them I think are great. Why are you not asking them? Well, OSD gets us. You understand us, your generation relevant. And start feeding the words that we've always been thinking back to us. We ended up piloting some programs that were based on the presumption that we could be an organization that exists on both sides of the spectrum of transition. There's very, very few organizations that deliberately do that. The USO probably being the most prominent, and um, their expiration date is about a year out from service. So they have the Pathfinder program, and very similar in some ways, and actually one of our largest partners, by the way. But they exist as a huge morale boost. And then as you're transitioning out, you become part of the Pathfinder program. If you'd like that, it expires about a year. Problem they have is they're geographically fenced in. If you're not near an installation, you're out of luck. So anyways, I look at it's developing the ecosystem, the veteran support ecosystem, as we call it. And OSD is not the answer. We are an answer. I believe our philosophy is sound. I also believe our philosophy is not unique to the veteran space either. It's about how do we use social connectivity, and it could be, gaming to CrossFit. Again, I use those kind of because they seemingly are opposites of one another. How do we use those coupled with professional development that also understands mentorship itself as a culture of a community organization, number one. And number two, most veteran professional development should probably be communication development. Not because, a vet or, doesn't know how to speak, but it's just, again, it's understanding the nuance of when you're transitioning into a new part of your life. And then that last piece of it is that community service element, the servant leadership, where I believe almost everybody deep down in their soul has this desire to give back. It's that extra purpose. Most of us cannot find it through our day job, and that's okay. The purpose of your day job might be to go put food on the table of your family. That's a pretty damn good purpose, in my opinion. But how do we then connect you to your community in a meaningful way to show them what a veteran is about and how you can really continue to serve in what you're doing individually as a leader of your household and as a leader in the community. And so you just wrap all that stuff up, and it's a daily challenge because there's a lot of aspirational drive there that is philosophical. And then there's how do we actually, actively on the ground show that it works? Because, a lot of talk and no doing is not inspirational at all. And we don't want to be seen as that type of org.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you guys have definitely been diligent in your practices and making sure that you guys are data driven, which I always think that that's important too, making sure that the veterans pave the way that you serve, right? Versus you forcing products and services down their throat that they may or may not want, right? So from what I've seen from my end of things, you guys have been doing a great job with that. Now, there's a slogan that I like to say anytime I'm speaking here in San Diego at a Rotary Club or anything is a handyman with tools that doesn't know what he's working on is useless, right? Mm-hmm. So to your point right there, there's over 40,000 resources out there, probably millions nationwide, and even more globally, that are trying to help with the transitional period. But it sounds like we both are kind of hitting the needle to the road around self-awareness and living a more proactive versus a reactive life. And it sounds like you guys are starting to notice that and see that. And it sounds like you guys are bridging the gap, and you guys are being diligent with it. You guys are finding right partnerships and all that stuff. And I was, I even took a look at your blog, your email this morning, and you're currently partnering up with, I believe, Xbox and Microsoft, OSD, and you guys to raise $250,000. And if you guys do that, Xbox is matching it.
Yeah, it's that simple. I mean, that's when you get up into this space, and shoot, that's not a dollar figure to scoff at. But it's one of these, even with Xbox. I mean, it seems like a cliche relationship because, of course, they're a gaming console and we do gaming. And that certainly stokes the initial interest. But the reason why they really wanted to begin working with us is because we see gaming as a piece of things. Not speaking officially on Xbox's behalf. I mean, they have this concept of, gaming for everyone. That's their big thing. And really what it's about is utilizing that as an activity to bring people together. And we talk all the time about the good old days of, where most games were couch co-op. You could still split screen something that nowadays you've got to have, and shoot, my living room's the same way. We've got multiple consoles and multiple TVs, and it's kind of screwy, but God bless America. It's pretty great time to live. But they understand to us, like, we will never say, gaming cures PTSD straight up, or, that's just substitute for reality. It needs to be a piece of this puzzle. And you know, it's huge. And we're super grateful to have them back this up, because what that'll end up doing directly, with some additional work that I'll end up following on, is it no joke, it'll end up impacting somewhere between 800,000 and a million veterans and family members annually, because of specifically where we're doing some of this work.
Wow, that's huge. That's awesome. And I just love how you guys are collaborative. You're a very collaborative brand. And I think a rising tide lifts all ships. I know that's a cliche. However, I really do believe in that, around partnering up with brands that are actually getting results for people and have fruit in an area of life that you want to be, having fruit in, which I think is so important. So, Glenn, I mean, it's already almost been 30 minutes. This conversation has flown by, and I can only imagine the ambitious vet that's listening to this right now, how many golden grenades that they've probably written down or have mentally noted on a jog or a hike, wherever this ambitious vet is. However, we have a tradition here, Glenn. I want to hear, what are 3 golden grenades that you could drop in here to equip any ambitious vet to blow through their fear barriers to creating more life satisfaction, career fulfillment, or even a little bit more sense of purpose in life? What do you got for us?
Yeah, I think number one, I would say, is it's remembering what I believe the American dream is. I think the American dream is a lot more simple. I think it's, number one, taking care of your family. If you're so driven to start a business, doing so to leave a legacy. And then, third in that, and it's with the first golden grenade, would be then being able to hire others to give them that same dream. And, remembering that your average millionaire is probably a blue collar business owner driving an F-150, living in a $250,000 house in the suburbs, and has more toys than most millionaires have. I think that is probably one of the greatest things to remember, because it roots you in in an actual reality, statistical reality, as opposed to the Instagramization, if that's a word, of things. So number one, I'd go with that one. Number two, I would say, again, cliche, who is everything. It is always about relationships. You can make up for any shortcoming in knowledge with being a trustworthy person that people can count on, that you can follow through on things, being a solution. That's my favorite phrase, being a solution to a problem somebody doesn't realize they have. And that's not creating a problem to be a solution to, it's just listening for those type of opportunities. And then I would really say, that third one we've hit on a few times is just the situational awareness, and realizing that being true to yourself and your values is not being the exact same way to everyone, saying the same words, looking the same way. Situational awareness says you're driven by something a little bit more core, which would be your values and, your internal purpose. And that's something I think we're always, every day, trying to determine exactly what it is and tweaking it. But you have to adapt how you approach the world to who you're with. I mean, simplistically, it's called being professional. It's professionalism in the working environment. But being able to adapt to those still comes back to, that's a communication ability. That's, the ability to strike up a relationship with people of all ages, of all backgrounds. And again, where I like to point out, because I don't think the veteran community values it as much right now as they should of their own communities, veterans are by nature the most diverse group of people at scale on planet Earth. Like, use that. Why is that the case? Yes, there's a whole bunch of you can talk to each other in a different way while you're obviously and you're deployed. And it's not saying you can't do that, and everybody grows up, but you can still have, the fun jokes and whatnot. But the reality is you had a bunch of people from a bunch of different walks of life living on top of each other, doing crazy stuff, interacting with other people that are crazy. Like, the whole entire environment to me, like, top down, shoot, that sounds like a heck of a communication skill set if you realize it. And those are the parts where again, that's almost my commitment from the outside looking in, is I want to continue to, even if I got to beat you over the head with it, make you realize what you have. You didn't come out of the military with, I'm a leader because the Army told me I am, or whatever. That's nonsense. Get deeper than that. There's a lot more value you just need to help. You need help understanding where that came from and getting through some of just the extra noise that's in the way.
Yeah, I love that. And, I think you've definitely knocked on this multiple times throughout this conversation, Glenn, but I really love the whole aspect of be a solution to the problem in front of you. I mean, one of the landmines that I hear a lot of subject matter experts or leaders or whatever you want to call them that are coming onto this show is they're always saying veterans are hitting that human capital gap. They're getting out, they're overly expecting a salary that they necessarily don't have the capacity to earn in that moment. And it's
Yep.
always solving that next problem so they can start identifying the gaps in experience, training, credentials, all that kind of stuff to solve that problem. And I find that, if an ambitious vet that's listening to this just focuses on that next problem to solve and figure out their gaps, then they're going to be set and good to go. Don't you think?
100% with you. It's not actually rocket science, and I don't say to oversimplify or put it down. It's, listen and pay attention to what's in front of you. It's the same thing I'd say as well. Like, there's tough days. Everybody's struggling around you. It's a matter of what we actually know. But for me and where I come from and my belief system, if I'm willing to look for it, there's blessings everywhere. And they're as simple as, watching a wildflower bloom or a bee fly by. And again, not trying to go down that path on this particular show, but the reality is the same thing when it comes to the challenges with relationships and work. Is there's a lot of stuff out there, but you have to go out and look for it. It's nobody else's responsibility. It's your responsibility. Nobody owes me or you or anybody anything. And being able to approach the world in that look it's not having a callous approach. And it's not also having, the American rugged individualism. I think that's a way over the top way of looking. It's a simplified side of we want to raise our kids to be individuals, not so they can be alone, but so they can be responsible. Same thing with us. We don't want to be individuals so we can be isolated. We want to do it so we can always bring something to the table, always bring a skill set. And heck, man, kumbaya moment is imagine what happens if everybody took a little bit of personal responsibility. I mean, you can do some pretty badass things and build some amazing businesses.
Love it. Don't substitute responsibility, right? I love it. I love it. So Glenn, how can an ambitious vet go and either donate to your cause to match the $250,000 offer the Xbox and Microsoft are willing to match to impact over another 800,000 families, active duty and veterans out there? Or how can they learn more about OSD and what you guys are doing there?
Yeah, thankfully, getting a lot of credit to my design team. You can head to weareosd.org/Xbox-match, or you can go to weareosd.org and up at the top it says current campaign. And that'll take you straight to that $250,000 match campaign, again, dollar for dollar. And you can also drill down into the site a bit. You can see more about the programs. You can see, a bit about the impact and even some of the philosophy. And that's that big challenge is, we need to be not just talkers, but doers. But at the same time, being able to have a message that resonates. It's one thing if I'm sitting here flapping my yap about it, and another if I've got 5 other people on my team. It has to be something that resonates, so when you hear it and see it, you go, what, that's something I believe in. And that doesn't matter about OSD at that point. It's being able to enable individuals to go out there and make a difference. And if you do it while wearing a OSD t-shirt, great. If not, heck, man, I just hope we're able to bring a lot more satisfaction to a lot more individuals.
That's awesome. Ambitious Vet, if you're listening to this, definitely get connected with OSD, Glenn Banton Sr., and everything that they're doing over there. They're constantly getting better, just like you that's listening to this, always looking at getting 1% better every single day. Well, Glenn, man, I just want to thank you for coming on the show, bring in your golden grenades, and until next time, hold the vision and trust the process. Take care.
Hey, thank you, brother.
Well, there you have it, Ambitious Vet, episode number 75, The Ambitious Vet Show with Glenn Banton Sr. All the links that he shared inside of this episode and how to donate to OSD as Xbox and Microsoft match dollar by dollar and what they're creating in 2020 and beyond will be all in the show notes below. Also, if you are interested and motivated and even inspired maybe to take on the survey research study that we're doing to innovate the veteran community in 2020. That link will be in the show notes below. If you haven't already, Ambitious Vet, subscribe, rate, review the podcast. Feedback is what allows anything to improve in life, and we want to get better in the trenches right beside you every single day. So make sure that you do that if you haven't already. Also, if you're listening to this, we already know that you're warrior made, but to become passion driven and live that purpose in your life that we all desire most out of the uniform, utilize this one golden grenade you got from this episode, and I promise you, you'll be living that more fulfilling and satisfactory life that we all desire out of the uniform. Let's go get it.